Hello, fans of the Vampire Diaries. This is Mel again, and I just finished watching the season finale. That is episode 622, titled I'm Thinking of You All the While, which aired May 14th, 2015. Now, this episode marks the last appearance of Nina Dobrev as Elena Gilbert. And the way it was done was that Kai had placed Elena under a sleeping spell that linked its duration to Bonnie's life. So, as long as Bonnie breathed, Elena was forced to sleep like Sleeping Beauty, for she won't age while under the spell. But if Bonnie tried to figure out a loophole, both girls would die. So throughout the episode, we see Elena giving various goodbyes to all the characters, and many of them are recreations of previous scenes. Elena and Bonnie recreate the floating feather scene from episode 108. Elena and Bonnie recreate the Rickery Bridge memorial scene from episode 311. Elena and Alaric recreated the training scene from episode 306. Elena and Stefan recreated the 5-mile hike by the waterfall from episode 220. Elena and Jeremy recreated the high school hangout scene from episode 614. When Jeremy was about to leave town, Damon and Elena recreated two moments in one with their first meeting spot on the road, which was shown in the flashback in episode 322. And then the start of the Miss Mystic Falls dance from episode 119, and it was such a beautiful dance between them. And then the goodbye recreation between Elena and Tyler was one that I couldn't play, so I thought it was a new atmosphere for them. When Tyler is told by Elena to leave town and figure out where he fits again, since he's a werewolf again. But I think a good recreation for those two would have been in episode 214 when they're at the Gilbert Lake house, and it's the moment where Tyler apologizes to Elena about bringing the wolves to her because he didn't know that her death is what would supposedly break the Sun and Moon curse at the time. I thought that was a good Tyler and Elena moment, and I think that should have been the atmosphere that was recreated instead of Tyler in chains. Now, while Elena's departure from the show was the most anticipated thing in the finale, the part about Bonnie being linked to Elena was a surprise. Although it makes sense, since it makes sense now, but aside from that, many other things were a surprise as well. One surprise was Tyler triggering his werewolf curse because Liv wanted him to, so that he could survive the fallout from the wedding attack. Liv allowed Tyler to suffocate her, and here I thought Liv would ask Tyler to leave town with her so that they could be together. Instead, we get love confessions between them both before Tyler kills Liv, since she was slowly dying anyways due to Kai killing himself. And that's another thing. Kai killed himself. I didn't think he'd ever do that, but after realizing that he did that to turn himself into a vampire, since he already drank Lily's blood before going to the wedding, Kai killing himself makes sense now. In doing so, Kai basically murdered the Gemini Coven because as the leader, his death meant their death too. Then again, it's like the vampire bloodlines, in which if you killed one original, you kill their entire vampire bloodline. So, with his death, even before that, we had to say goodbye to Joe and the baby Saltzman twins. Poor Lark. What was meant to be the most happiest day of his life turned out to be the absolute worst. And before Kai could finish the job with the Lark, he was attacked and bitten by Tyler. Therefore, Kai suffered from the werewolf venom, but that was short-lived when Kai siphoned the magic out of the bite, basically curing himself. Now, Heretic Kai could truly be unstoppable now. While I would have loved to see what Heretic Kai was truly capable of, I'm glad that it wasn't dragged out. Although I have to wonder, who would win in a fight? Hybrid Klaus of 1,000 Years or Heretic Kai with his power and his vampirism? Although we won't ever find out because Damon took a page from the Michelson playbook and decapitated that heretic after pretending that he was going to leave Bonnie to die. Now, Damon truly had me going too, because I thought he was basically picking Elena over Bonnie. And he even did the forehead kiss on Bonnie, and he apologized to her. And she looked so betrayed and hurt. It was devastating. But then Damon zoomed in and killed Kai like he did, and rushed to save Bonnie. That is a Damon that has truly grown over the years, and I truly love that throughout this season in particular, we've seen just how much closer Damon and Bonnie have gotten in their friendship because of the time they spent together in the 1994 prison world. I'd love to see how that friendship grows. Although I'm not expecting a romance between the two, and I kind of hope not. Otherwise, Bonnie would kind of be a crappy friend and to Elena, but with the whole girl code thing. But it would be great to see that friendship bloom between them. And if anything, if Damon and Bonnie were ever to get together romantically, I think it would take years, since it already took years for them to get from hating each other to this point in their friendship. Now, Stefan and Caroline have brought up their feelings for one another briefly and frequently, actually, in this episode. But in the end, Stefan tells Caroline that he's willing to wait for her, which is kind of the same as what Klaus told Caroline at her graduation, if I remember correctly. Anyways, Stefan's past with Elena was brought up by Caroline, and yet Stefan doesn't lie in regards to what Elena did for him or what she means to him, because in the end, Elena is what brought Damon back to Stefan. Because of Elena, Stefan got his brother back. And I thought that speech of his was great on that topic. It truly emphasized the brotherhood between the Salvatores, and he even said to Caroline that he'd be more affected of losing Damon than losing Elena. In some regard, that's what he said. Now, Damon makes the hard decision of keeping Elena under the sleeping spell so that Bonnie could live out her life, since that is also what Elena would want. She doesn't want her best friend to die just so that she could live. But I can't help but feel sorry for Damon again. Once again, he's forced to wait for the one he loves to reunite with him. I mean, for 145 years, he waited for Catherine in hopes that once she was released from the tomb that she was trapped in, then they'd be together for eternity. Granted, she was never in the tomb and she never loved him, but for those 145 years, Damon believed that she did love him and that he loved her. Now with Elena, Damon is forced to go through the process again, but for 60 years, and it will be harder because Damon knows now that Elena truly loves him, and that he has to wait to be with her. I mean, he had truly experienced what being happy was like, and it was with Elena, and now it's being ripped from him because of this spell. And Damon already waited 4 seasons to be with Elena, and he has only been with her for half that time he waited. And now he has to do it again. He has to wait for her. It just seems like Damon can't catch a break when it comes to his love life. So what is Damon going to do for the next 60 years? Is it the same thing he did when he waited for Catherine? But how can Elena ask Damon to live his life fully while knowing that he'll see her again? I mean, he suggested the desiccation route so he could sleep and wait for her like that, but she projects the idea she wants him to continue living his life and she wants him to be happy. But how can he ask her to do that and then expect him to also wait for her? I mean, it's one thing if Elena died, because then Damon would have to be forced to move on from Elena. But if Elena is basically in limbo in this spell, then Damon is essentially putting his life on hold until Elena can join him again. Because if he does anything else as he waits for her, it could jeopardize his reunion with Elena. Because, like, if those 60 years Damon finds someone else, grows closer to them, either he's going to turn them and they're going to stay together for eternity and he's just going to leave Elena in the dust when those 60 years are up, or he's going to be with that new person and then eventually he knows it's going to end at some point because he's going to go back to Elena. Then, like, why even start the relationship to begin with? I mean, it just seems like he's going to be living at a standstill, basically. Moving forward until Elena's with him again. Or as long as he knows that he will reunite with Elena again, he's not really going to move forward or be happy, or he may feel guilty for being happy while she's stuck in a coffin. I mean, even before Damon reveled in what it meant to be a vampire through Sage, he was just existing as he waited for Catherine as a vampire. So it's like he took no pleasures from it. So it'll be interesting to see how Damon reacts to Elena's situation. Will we get the old Damon back from season 1, or are we going to get a different version of him? I really hope that whole thing makes sense. Because while I'm pleased with the possibility of Elena returning in the future, I'm not okay with the fact that Damon now has to wait for her. But what do I think about Elena's departure from the show? While the sleeping spell is a hell of a lot better than a human Elena being compelled to leave town and never look back, because if that happened, then that would pretty much destroy the love story that Elena had with both Salvatores, since the show was centered around that love story, that love triangle between them. I mean, the whole premise that brought us into watching the show was of a girl that was caught between two vampire brothers. To have the show end, or even have her story end in a way that doesn't leave her with either brother, just seems ridiculous, because for the entirety of the show, I knew in the end that she would pick a Salvatore. The question was, which one would she ultimately pick in the end? It's like all of a sudden the show Supernatural just stopped being a show that focused on two brothers that hunt the supernatural together. If one of the Winchesters permanently died on Supernatural, then there wouldn't be a show anymore. Which is basically what's happening with the Vampire Diaries. So back to Elena's departure with Nina Dobrev leaving the show. It makes sense that Elena would either die or she would be compelled to leave town. But this sleeping spell option opens the door for Elena's return in the future. Possibly in the series finale, there will be a time jump forward to the day that Damon reunites with Elena after Bonnie has lived a long life. And maybe she goes with, "What have I missed?" And then Damon can just go, "There's so much I have to tell you." And then it just cuts to black right there with her smiles and them walking off together. Maybe that could be the series finale, or the final moment at least. Who knows? Elena could have taken a page from Catherine or the Michelson's playbook and body jumped. I mean, it is possible, since Elena is a traveler descendant, so she could have become a passenger in another body since she was human again. But then again, she would have to be coherent to perform such a spell, and she would most likely she wouldn't want to possess a body unless it was vacant of a soul. So a dead body, or a recently dead body. Or Elena could have been spelled into a different body, like the Michelsons did, especially Rebecca, in which her character lives on, even though the actress Claire Holt isn't a regular on the show anymore. Then again, Elena could have done that option while she was a vampire, therefore not needing to take the cure, and she could have done what Rebecca ended up doing. I think I would have preferred Elena's soul being in another body, because then the challenge in season 7 could be Elena's adjustment as living in another body, and to see if the love between Damon and Elena could have transcended over the physicalities that they had, like what Rebecca and Marcel wrestled with a bit on the originals, as Rebecca inhabited Eva Sinclair's body. So with that said, let's go on to another point, and that is Lily Salvatore, who got her heretic family back as Kai promised when she and Enzo find a cloaked warehouse after his death. Now Lily seems pleased with her reunion, and she even included Enzo in on her family. Now I both liked and hated that inclusion for Enzo, because what about Lily's biological sons? She acts as if they never meant anything to her at all, as if she can just throw them away without consequence and just take Enzo into the fold. It's like, that's not how it works. Now, the final moments of the episode showed some time passing before Matt is shown on patrol in his police cruiser. And then Damon is shown standing on the clock tower as he looked over Mystic Falls. And was it just me, or did Mystic Falls look like it's been through the apocalypse? I got the feeling I was in The Walking Dead Revolution, or the altered version in Supernatural episode 504. Things didn't look well in that town. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So let's go to predictions. And since tonight was the finale, I can only predict on what I think season 7 will cover. And I think we'll be experiencing another time jump, and hopefully we'll find out about how much of a gap that jump is in the premiere. It can't be too long ahead in the future if we want the mortal characters to still be played by the same actors. But Zach Rohrig is still playing Matt, who is in the cop car as on patrol. So I would have to guess that maybe a year has passed since Elena's goodbye. Maybe 5 at most. I don't think it'd go that far. but who knows. Now, Lily and her heretics, I'm going to think that they're going to be a problem at some point. Maybe if they're caused of the apocalyptic looking town. But I definitely think they're going to be a problem because I doubt that they are going to acclimate in the present day and not feel vengeful for their imprisonment, even though the Gemini Covenant are all dead. I mean, they were terrorizing civilizations before they were imprisoned, so I would only assume that they would do the same thing again, maybe tenfold, who knows. They're definitely going to be blood crazed, though, because they've been deprived of it for so long. I mean, we kind of think of it as what the tomb vampires felt after they were released from the tomb. They quickly acclimated into the modern day, but they were dead set on getting their revenge against the founding families, even though they weren't the actual founding family members who imprisoned them. Being the descendants was enough of a revenge for them. Now, I'm interested in seeing how the show will continue forward without Elena Gilbert, since she's been the protagonist of the show and the book series was centered all around her. So I'm excited and nervous for the upcoming season, but I would love to see more of the Salvatore brothers being brothers again, without having Elena being the common factor between them. Maybe more flashbacks of them, or maybe even more flashbacks of the other characters too somehow, even though I doubt it since they're not vampires. And if they did flashbacks, then they would be different actors for them, since they were human at that time. And I would hope to see more crossover episodes with the originals. And now that both shows will be airing on Thursday nights next year, 8 o'clock for Vampire Diaries, 9 o'clock for the originals, it would make things easier for a crossover, right? Now, without Elena in the picture, I'm definitely worried about Damon because of my Delina shipper heart. But I hope that Damon makes a best friend out of Bonnie, since he seems to be lacking in scenes with Alaric and Enzo, his supposed drinking buddies. I'm still disappointed by the lack of scenes between those three characters in this season. I was hoping for more of them, especially when Alaric and Enzo were set to be series regulars in the season. So I think I'm going to end it there and just be done with the finale for now. But what did you guys think of the finale or the season as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want my in-time reaction to the episode, there's a play-by-play recap video of the episode I created, and it's posted on my LiveJournal account. I usually fill those with GIFs I find through Tumblr, but the light blue italic stuff is usually my initial thoughts and questions during that time in the episode. So I'll include a link to that in the description box below. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a comment or a thumbs up for this video if you think I should continue with these podcasts for season 7. Once again, thank you guys for listening in. I truly appreciate it. Don't forget to like this, subscribe to this, give it a thumbs up, and check out my other stuff. Until next time, guys, this is Mel, and I am signing off. Bye, guys.